Hello, welcome to Wellness Wednesday. And today I want to share with you some of my HTMA journey. The reason why I want to share it with you is so that you can understand a little bit about the journey, about why it's so important, and why it can really move the needle in your health. So, with my approach to wellness is that, we have immediate goals. Clients come to me because they want to lose weight. They want to have more energy. They want to sleep better. These are some of the top reasons why people inquire to work with a wellness practitioner, so they can kind of figure out how to feel better, which is great. And I want you to feel better right away. But there's also another piece to it. It's like future wellness. Like, what are we preventing? And I have to tell you that I am extremely grateful for falling into hair tissue mineral analysis and this world. I was in health and wellness for decades before I learned more deeply about mineral balancing and how important that is in terms of preventative care for future disease. And I'll explain why in a second, that is. But it really turned my whole outlook on my protocols and everything that I do, and gave it more meaning and purpose and more specific reasons and purposes. I don't know if that makes sense, but prior to just so you know where I'm at, when I took my first hair tissue mineral analysis, I began going down a rabbit hole. I do a lot of research, I do a lot of studying. It's just something I'm super curious and passionate about when it comes to wellness, like all the different categories. Minerals was my topic that I kind of fell down this rabbit hole. And I'm like, knew about obviously minerals. Had been recommending supplementation for many years prior, but I really was fell into that blanket recommendations. And I am going to give you some recommendations that even if you don't do a hair tissue mineral analysis test, which I do obviously recommend testing, not guessing, but things that you can do that I see often that are in a lot of people's patterns. And what are some of the supplements that are like in every protocol? What are the same supplements in every protocol that are generally for everybody? So I went down this rabbit hole, and then I learned about hair tissue mineral analysis. I had never known about that type of testing. So I ended up purchasing hair tests through a company, a very good company, Upgraded Formulas, and I didn't know how to interpret it. So I tested myself. I got on a call with a hair tissue mineral analysis practitioner that explained to me what was going on. And to be honest, I was very surprised. I thought I wasn't feeling optimal. I mean, I definitely have been dealing with, I was dealing with energy issues for many, many years, almost became normalized for me. And because of my personality or my brain, I just always would kind of push through. And what happens is when I see this with clients too, is often we're so out of connection with how we feel and our symptoms that we override them. And symptoms are awesome because they're clues. They're nudging us, telling us something needs to maybe be tweaked or shifted. Habits need to be changed. Nervous system needs to be worked on. How we're handling stress. And I know stress is something ambiguous, right? Like, what is stress? Well, there's good stress, there's bad stress, there's unmanaged stress. We all have stress, and stress is great. It can motivate us to like a deadline. Exercise is stress. Sauna and cold therapy is stress. But then we have like situational stress, life stress, relationship stress, financial stress. And we begin to try to figure things out, and we think on it. We have ruminant thinking, and it affects our sleep, it affects our state of being, it affects our moods, and that's when it becomes a problem. So learning how to manage our nervous system and teach our bodies how to spend some time in what we call rest and digest, or sending the signal to our cells that We're not in danger and it's okay. I always say this, your cells do not speak in English. They don't have the power to negotiate or to analyze. They are purely signaled through our hormones, which are signaled through sunlight and eating. Just as an example, I'm oversimplifying it, but hormones are chemical messengers. So they tell your body what to do. So let's just say I'm just like I'm really stressing over my bills. I don't have enough money in my bank account. Um, what am I going to do? I got to figure this out. I got to get another job. I got to sell more programs. I got to do whatever. And I'm in this state of like unrest. I'm in this state of stress. And my body doesn't have the ability to say, oh, you know what? Sheila's just worrying over something she's overreacting. No, my body thinks that it doesn't distinguish between email stress, financial stress, relationship stress, and like life and death stress. So continually putting my body into this. I'm running out of a burning building, or I'm being chased by a mass murderer or a wild animal. And so my body will prioritize, obviously, those fight and flight mechanisms over metabolism. I'm going to be kind of basking my cells in stress hormones. So I know I'm going down a little bit of a rabbit hole here, but the point is that I really wasn't managing that as well. Well, I was beginning a meditation practice and that was helping for sure. But remember, things don't happen overnight. So this journey could be a decade or two. I've spent decades driving myself out of balance, unmanaged stress, doing some of the healthy things I thought were healthy, but not for me. So long story short, here I was, my first hair tissue mineral analysis, got my results, didn't know how to read them, didn't know how to interpret them. So I was, consulting with a practitioner that was trained in hair tissue mineral analysis interpretation. And keep in mind, this is a very short interpretation. The company that I purchased it from, it's not designed, they sell coaching. Like they want you to continue the program with some guidance, which is really, really important. But that first visit, I just kind of got my results and she knew I was a practitioner. So she could just kind of pile it on me like this. And I like just wrote it all down and started implementing what I could. So at the time, I was intermittent fasting. I was a low body fat weight, maybe 16, 17, maybe 18% body fat, which my low carb diet supported. I was intermittent fasting, very low carb, organic food, gluten-free, grain-free. And I had no problem with that, actually. It worked really well for me. I was taking also a lot of supplements that were great, high quality, pharmaceutical grade, third-party tested, everything was clean. But what I didn't realize is I was missing some really important ones. So it almost like negated some of the ones I was taking because I wasn't thinking about the relationship and cofactors and antagonists and synergists to nutrients I was taking. I wasn't thinking along those lines. So I was like, oh, vitamin C is good for me for this, and vitamin B1 is good for me for this. And like I was taking things more out of like, this is what it's for, and this is what the benefits are. And this is why I'm taking it. Versus what does my body need? Do I need more of something or less of something, or maybe something that I shouldn't be taking at all? So this was an awakening for me. This literally completely changed my pivoted me into a different direction in my personal protocol for myself, and also how I began to look at my clients and how to help them. So that led me on my journey, and I did enroll in my instant HTMA training. It's called HTMA Instant Professional HTMA. I forget if I'm saying it wrong. Anyway, it's a very highly regarded training in proper interpretation of hair testing. Hair testing is an art and a science. So there is a lot to it. There's a lot of relationships between the minerals. There's relationships in the ratios that indicate stress levels. What stress are you in? Are you in like a burnout state of stress? Are you in an alarm state of stress? Are your adrenals overactive or are they depleted? Is your thyroid function suboptimal on a cellular level? It really gives us deeper information than blood work. And I'm not taking anything away from blood work. I think it's super important. And that's a whole other topic. And I usually make recommendations for specific labs that aren't usually taken with a regular physical from your primary care because they miss a lot of things that we are very important to look at. So let's get back to the hair testing. So I started my journey. Quite frankly, the first probably year of my journey, I was still incomplete with my approach because I didn't really know. I was learning. And when I learned about Vicon, I saw a webinar with Jensen and Lisa. Jensen is the founder of the course I took, and Lisa is the owner of Vicon, which is a compounding supplement company. And they offer the highest quality products. And listen to this podcast, and I realized that there's actually compounding existing in the nutrition world. It was, again, an aha moment. And I quickly got an account with them and I quickly started doing consults to learn more to how to properly create a specific supplement protocol for certain profiles on hair test in order to bring the body into more balance. More balance means more energy, more metabolic function, and initiating the body to go into a natural way of detoxing. We are surrounded and overloaded with toxic elements. Toxic elements can be found in our food, in our water, in our personal care products, in our cleaning products, in our couches, in our mattresses, in our clothes, perfumes, all these things. And even when something says something clean, it doesn't mean it doesn't have chemicals in it. Sometimes things are unavoidable. But our body is naturally designed to push these toxins out. The problem becomes when we're overloaded with it and we're not giving our body the actual ingredients needed to have that energy to push them out. Then the other thing that happens is we're not properly eliminating. We may not have the right binder that would help us to like mop up those toxins in our body. So when it comes down to it, disease it comes down to very, again, a little oversimplified because I'm not including unmanaged stress, but that's all part of the picture. But at the end of the day, nutritional deficiencies and toxic element overload, like aluminum and mercury, cadmium, excess copper, which is a nutritional element, but in excess can be toxic. These toxic elements combined with nutritional deficiencies equal disease, period. So things don't just happen, guys. We don't wake up one day and say, oh, I have a heart condition. Oh, I have high blood pressure, or I have type 2 diabetes. This happens over time, and it could be decades. And so when we usually get this diagnosis, that's when that's when they start to inquire and make changes. But why wait? And that's the other part of it. Who should be going on this journey of just slow but sure, learning, applying, but then let's get the roadmap of what's going on in your body. Are you a fast oxidizer, slow oxidizer? Are you deficient in calcium? Or do you have too much calcium? Do you have copper overload or do you need copper? These are all questions that are so vitally important before you just start buying supplements off the shelf or listening to the influencer on Instagram that is maybe extremely knowledgeable, but telling you a recommendation of nutritional supplements that may not fit your profile and could be causing you harm. So my goal, my mission is to help my community, people around me, my clients, my family, and anybody, as many people as I can reach, to initiate curiosity, to live better, to be healthier, and to fully be in your life, fulfilling your purpose because you are worth it. You have a purpose. We have purpose in this world. There's reasons why we're here, whether we think it's important or not. Whether you're a mother or a father or a sister or a brother or a husband or a wife or a daughter or a son or a friend, we have a purpose. And if you're not feeling good and you're moving towards disease, which is dis-ease in the body, and not towards vitality, it's not going to be a very fun journey. So I want you to feel your best. I want you to get the right information. So let me just share with you a couple things. I'm not going to go into grave detail, and I'm going to try to keep this as simple as possible, but I'm going to share my screen because I want to show you my very first hair test that I ever did. This was in August of 2022. I was 51 years old. And again, I was living a very healthy lifestyle. I did all the things when it comes to nutrition and supplements. I thought I was doing the right things. I was on a meditation, implementing meditation in my life. But I was definitely ignoring certain things. Anyway, I got this test, and even if you don't have a training in hair tissue mineral analysis, you can see that there's some really high and low markers here. So I'm just going to go over the first four primary minerals. So our most important big minerals are calcium, magnesium, sodium, and potassium. They are our electrolytes. They are the spark plug. Well, all minerals are the spark plugs of your body, but they are the electrical charge in your body. You are an electrical being. Okay. So hydration is not about just drinking water. If you're drinking water all day long and peeing all day long, I can guarantee you're dehydrated because without the proper balance of electrolytes, we're not able to absorb that water. Okay. We're also made of water. So these are super important. So we need these in balance. So let's just look at calcium first. So calcium at 244, when the optimal level is 42, is extremely high. So what does that mean? That means like, oh, wow, that's great. I have calcium in my body. No, hair test is showing us it's actual soft tissue sample of what is going on a cellular level in your body, what is going on in the soft tissue. 244 is imbalanced calcium. It's an overload of calcium in my soft tissue. Now, I might have gone on for another decade and not known that. I did not regularly supplement with calcium, but I also was influenced by, and this was in my ear, menopause, perimenopause, women need to supplement calcium. Why? Because this blanket recommendation is because women have a much higher risk of osteoporosis after menopause. Why? Because our estrogen goes down. So people think calcium, even though our bones are made up of so much more than calcium, but calcium is super important, and the calcium in our body should be in our bones and our teeth. When I see a level of 244, which is an extreme calcium shell in the HTMA world, we'll do another episode on calcium shell because there's emotional and physical and psychological side effects to calcium shell. What are some of the physical aspects of this if I let this go on? If I never knew this happened, where would I be in 10 years at 61? Probably osteopenia, maybe osteoporosis, and arthritis because of this calcium that's stuck in my tissue. Emotionally, somebody with a calcium shell, it somewhat numbs you. It's almost like your body's calming mechanism, antidepressant or shield. Because when you're under chronic stress for long periods of time, maybe you've gone through divorce, maybe you've gone through financial stress, maybe you've gone through a move, maybe you've gone through death of a loved one. These are all very traumatic events, and couple that with daily stress of living in our modern world, the body will, and then if magnesium is deficient, which is the gatekeeper of calcium, calcium can go rogue in the body. And this can cause a lot of problems. So this became an awareness for me to what I wanted to do. So the goal of this is to take this calcium and put it where it belongs and to get rid of the excess. So what do we need? Not more calcium, obviously, but we need helper nutrients that transport calcium to where it belongs. So example, K2, potassium, magnesium, B6, boron. So these are like helper nutrients that help to utilize the calcium in your body properly. And oh, so often I work with perimenopausal and menopausal women, and when I ask them what if they're taking supplements, what supplements, and calcium is on the list. And then I always ask why. Why are you taking calcium? Well, I read that after menopause, we should be taking 600 milligrams to 1200 milligrams a day. So that's a really dangerous recommendation because calcium can end up in the arterial lining of our arteries and it can cause problems. Wouldn't it be great if I just took a calcium supplement and it actually went to my bones and teeth? But guys, without the helper nutrients that I mentioned, it's not going to happen. Calcium doesn't know what to do. It needs instructions when it gets into the body. So now look at my magnesium. Wow, I have a lot of magnesium. The truth is, this is a huge loss. So we have what's called, Dr. Malter coined the term magnesium burn rate. You will burn through magnesium under stress, whether that's physical stress or emotional stress or mental stress. You just burn through more magnesium, and I wasn't giving my body enough. I was including magnesium glycinate in my and malate actually in my protocol at the time, but I didn't realize how much I actually needed. And for me, my body was under a lot of stress. I needed more and more until I built up those reserves because we build up magnesium in the cells. We need that cellular filling of magnesium. We need that backup. Magnesium is something that I will tell you is in every single protocol that I do. Every compound that I make for a client has 500 milligrams of magnesium in it. So if you are taking magnesium and you're taking 100 milligrams, it's not enough. It's very difficult to get in our diet with our depleted soil. I will tell you the glycinate and malate are the most absorbable. So taking either one or if you're going to take one, take glycinate. If you can find a combination, that's great. It's called glycinate because it's attached, the magnesium is attached to the amino acid L-glycine, which is a calming amino acid. That's why people sleep better between taking like a magnesium glycinate. So there is cofactors though to magnesium. So taking magnesium alone will help with symptoms of like cramps or maybe insomnia or restless sleep. So you might find a big difference by taking like 300 to 500 milligrams at night before bed. But are we absorbing it properly? So we do need cofactors. It turns out boron, B6 in the P5P form, but at higher levels. So that's another thing. I was taking B6 at the time of my protocol when I did this first test. But when I looked at the amount I was taking, I was taking like 25 milligrams and I really needed 100. And when I look at a lot of B complexes, or when I again work with clients that are currently taking supplements already, and we look at the label and it's like 5 milligrams of B6, 10 milligrams of B1. This is like equivalent to taking a handful of grass seed and throwing it on your 1 acre property. It's a very scattered approach. It's not going to really do anything. So at best, you're wasting money and you're not causing harm, but you're not getting the optimal benefits. You may be keeping saving yourself from diseases from severe deficiencies, but why not have a fully green lawn? Let's do it. Let's do the appropriate dosage for you. Sodium at 13, optimal. Let me finish with magnesium. So it's a very high number where we actually want it to be 6. And this is very common when we have very high calcium, that we have this severe magnesium loss. Sodium optimally is 24, and maybe even a little bit higher. So for a strong sodium, we have a lot of energy. So often I test clients, and with the number one, maybe their symptom is like extreme fatigue. They come back on their test and they might have like a sodium of 1 or 2. And there's a need for a lot more. If somebody comes back with a high sodium, that doesn't mean that they don't need sea salt. It means that they're having a stress response. So there's a lot of information when we interpret hair tests. It's very individualized, and it really depends. It's not just like, I don't look at tests and not talk to the client or not find out what the symptoms are, because symptoms are really important in the protocol equation. My potassium, which I never paid attention to potassium, and you may not either, because it's not really the sexy mineral. It's not, you hear a lot about magnesium. That's why we do see people on magnesium. We hear a lot about vitamin D, but we hear a lot of demonization of sea salt, and we don't even really hear about potassium, where most people are deficient. And there are reasons why potassium will come in very low when we have a huge epidemic of what we call copper toxicity or copper imbalance. And no, you can't determine this type of copper toxicity on a blood test. Copper gets sequestered in the brain and the liver because of insufficient adrenal function. The body just doesn't have the resources to detox the excess copper. And there's reasons why we have excess copper, with birth control being released in 1960, copper IUDs. We live in an estrogenic world, with estrogen being closely knit with copper elevation. There's all different factors: copper piping, copper sulfate in our organic sprayed on our organic vegetables. So there's lots of reasons why. But when we have too much copper in the body, and calcium, and we're taking a lot of vitamin D supplementation, it's actually going to block our ability to absorb potassium. And potassium is crucial in heart health. This is so important because we have so many people. Heart disease is still the number one killer. So let me give you another tip that everybody can do. You can incorporate potassium-rich foods in your diet. And again, a lot of people don't know what that is. So I'm going to give you some examples. Coconut water is very rich in potassium. So if you can start taking in coconut water, organic coconut water, throughout the day, mix it in your water if you want, or just drink it straight. Cold is delicious. Avocados, sweet potatoes, russet potatoes, watermelon, squashes. These are all high in potassium foods. You can look up on your Google, a list of potassium-rich foods and how much is milligrams are in that food. We need like up to 4,900 milligrams a day. So banana is high in potassium too. Spinach is high in potassium. But when we're looking at a food, like even 8 ounces of coconut water is going to maybe give us 500 to 600 milligrams. We still need a lot more. So I wasn't supplementing with potassium. So now in my compound, this is a full-time job for me to take in potassium, because over the years, I had been so depleted. And I knew this from blood work also, because I had done intracellular potassium tests and I was deficient. But I didn't realize the dangerous consequences of low potassium. So I have to tell you that this is still a journey for me. Now I can give you a hint. I'm going to show you my very last test and kind of like where I went along the way, but what minerals moved. We're not trying with hair tissue mineral analysis to be perfect, because we live in a world that we have different things that happen and our bodies respond to that situation. So we might have times of stress, and then we have times of not of less stress. We have physical stress sometimes when we're not getting enough sleep, or maybe we're exercising really hard. Maybe we're training for a sport, and that puts a lot of stress on the body. So again, the requirements of certain nutrients may be more or less depending on what we're going through. And that's why we never start supplementation and say, this is your protocol forever. No, we change protocols, we add things, we take away things, we have to tweak. Similarly to, if your iron, if your doctor recommends you go on an iron supplement because you're low in iron, and you stay on that iron supplement for 10 years, there's going to be a problem. We need to retest. We need to see, well, did we fix that deficiency? Did we correct that imbalance? So I have to tell you guys, I'm a slow one. I actually just moved to a slow two. This is not a 3-month journey. This is over time. So let's compare it to an exercise program. Let's say I have 100 pounds to lose. Now I can start on the journey of changing my diet, going to the gym, maybe starting a walking program, maybe getting a trainer and getting properly guided through weightlifting and building up my muscles. But 3 months later, I'm still going to be quite overweight, right? I may have released 10 pounds of fat, which is fantastic, but I have 90 pounds to go. Should I stop the program and say it's not working? No, you have to give it adequate time. You have to give your body time. When you've been spending decades, potentially, of driving yourself in the wrong direction, okay? And now you finally put the information in your GPS. You have maybe gone 10 hours out of the way, and it might take you 20 hours to get to the destination that should have only taken you 10 hours. Does that make sense? So be patient. This is a journey, and you're going to feel as you go, you're going to just feel better and better, and you're going to see what works, and you're going to work on things. And again, you have to go through this time anyway, right? Like I've gone through the last 3 years, and I was going to go through 3 years anyway. And now at least I know that I'm actually going in the right direction. And am I there yet? No. But I can tell you that I have dumped disease, okay? Because on this, I'll just point out two things. Nickel is a toxic element. Now, in this first test, it's coming out of my hair. So we're seeing that you are getting rid of it, but we also don't know what's left. So what we see in serial hair testing is sometimes we see a toxic element and then it goes low, and then it might pop up again, and then it'll go low. And then maybe the next test it goes lower, and maybe the next test it's non-existent. We know that we've shuttled that out of your body. Doesn't mean if you're exposed to it again, you won't have to detox it again. But the point is that when I dump this toxic element, so I was at a 0.28, my current number is like a 0.02. So I have moved nickel out of my body over the course of my protocols. Strontium, if you are on strontium calcium supplements, I would not recommend that. Strontium takes the place of calcium in the bones. So again, you see I had that much calcium, but I had a lot of strontium that was also taking parking spots in my bones. What is that going to do? Make my bones brittle and lead me to osteoporosis. My strontium is way down. So I got rid of a lot of strontium with lowering my calcium too. And now my calcium is being utilized where it's supposed to be. Still not there yet. I'm still working on lowering my calcium even more. I want to show you ratios really briefly. So we have a couple ratios I'm going to point out that give us indication of stress levels. So our sodium to potassium shows us kind of like, are we in acute stress? Are we in burnt out stress? And in this particular ratio of 6.5, with the optimal being 2.4, my energy from my fight and flight and my acute stress was giving me energy, but it's like driving 85 miles an hour in third gear. What happens over time if you don't start supporting the potassium and sodium? Burnout. That's when I can't get off the couch. I can't drag myself out of bed. I'm so exhausted. I can't think straight. So I kind of like, okay, I'm thankful that I took this test now that I understood what I needed to support in order for this ratio, number one, to get better, to be more in balance. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, so right now that's why I don't feel like I'm burnt out, even though, let's go over to my adrenal ratio, it's sodium to magnesium. And you can, even if you don't know how to read hair tests, you could see how low that is, right? Optimal is 4, which is like right here. Okay, so my adrenals were tanked. So what does that mean for a woman going into menopause? That means you're going to get hot flashes. You are going to have difficulty losing weight. You're going to be very irritable. You're going to, which affects your relationships, right? So, because you usually take these kind of moods out on your people closest to you. So then let's go over to my thyroid ratio, calcium to potassium. So remember, my calcium was super high, my potassium was super low. So this ratio was really high at 122 when it optimally should be 4.2. What does that mean? That means dysfunctional thyroid function, suboptimal thyroid function on a cellular level. Now, it happened to be that I did have low thyroid hormone, and that means low free T3, which if you go back to your blood work, you may not have that marker. But when you ask your doctor for a thyroid panel and request free T3, reverse T3, and antibodies, that's not a normal lab that's that's ordered to evaluate thyroid. I have an episode where I'm with Noelle, a nurse practitioner, OBGYN, functional medicine, and we talk all about thyroid and how we're missing the mark on thyroid markers because we have like 80% of people walking around with suboptimal thyroid function. What does that mean? Anxiety, massive anxiety, hair loss, weight gain, difficulty losing weight, cold, hard to control your body temperature. And the doctor takes your thyroid markers and they said, no, your thyroid's fine. And they didn't test for T3 and they didn't test reverse T3 and they don't know if you have Hashimoto. When they finally, if you do get lucky enough to get actually flagged as hypothyroid to get some support, they usually recommend the wrong medication. It's usually a thyroid T4 hormone, and usually people need T3. But with that being said, I was very low on my hormones because of my continual low carb nutrition diet, which I did for too long, and I pretty much tanked my hormones. So I have finally gotten my thyroid support, good for me. But even with adequate thyroid hormone, so let's just say your free T3 is a 3.5, which is an optimal number on your blood. And I still have this ratio of a very high ratio on my hair test. And that client is still experiencing hypothyroid symptoms. That's because the hormone's in your blood, but it's not able to get into the cell. Without bioavailable calcium to make your cells permeable, and without the proper potassium to push it in, we're not going to be, it's like I'm at the gas station and I'm sitting next to the gas tank. Why isn't my tank filling up? Because the nozzle isn't in the gas tank. If I put the nozzle in and I turn the gas on, now I'm getting gas. I could sit there all day long. So your cells are like, thyroid's in the blood, hormone, but can't get into my cell because this person doesn't have balanced minerals. So we can actually really help correct these types of stress, adrenal, thyroid function with the proper nutrient support, the proper nervous system support, and the proper nutrition for that person. So here I had a lot of copper toxicity markers. We won't get into massive copper toxicity, but I do want to show you, I've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I just had my 8th test in 3 years. So it looks a lot different now. Now I've had, there's a lot of movement that goes on with minerals as you're on protocols. I've been on Vicon for a couple years. Vicon is that compounded nutrient, so that I can, instead of buying like 30 different bottles of supplements, I just put everything into one powder and I just take it twice a day. And it makes it so simple. You can also do it in pill form if you don't like the idea of a powder, but it's not one pill. It would be multiple pills, but it would be at least coming from the same container because everything's mixed into one and compounded. So in my compound, I get all the nutrients I need. My potassium, my sodium, my calcium, I'm sorry, not calcium, magnesium, sodium, potassium, my B vitamins at the right levels that I need. I get my liver support, my milk thistle, my dandelion root, my NAC, my ALA. So all these amazing things that I can easily take instead of taking like 45 pills a day. So anyway, you're going to notice, and you might be saying to yourself, well, what's up with your potassium? Well, I can tell you, I'm getting my next retest in the beginning of October. And I have a really amazing feeling that it takes a while for potassium to increase to be able to move the needle. Because what happens is you start giving your body the potassium and it uses it up, it uses it up, it uses it up. And also, remember, I said that we can't absorb certain things because of certain heavy metals that are blocking. So I have been making potassium, especially the last 6 months, a full-time job. I probably do 3 or 4 potassium cocktails by Jigsaw a day. I drink 16 ounces of coconut water a day. I have um, probably 700 milligrams of gluconate potassium in my compound, as well as 750 citrate. So they're different forms. I had multiple forms of potassium, and I'm very conscious of potassium-rich foods. So one thing that happened to me is that I've been pretty much the same weight for the last, I guess, 10 years, where on the scale, there is a 5 pound high or low, right? So here's my high. When I hit that point, I'm like, let me see what I'm doing. Maybe I'm not moving enough. Let me reel it in a little bit, like maybe do more, maybe I don't know, whatever I adjust. And then if I'm on the moving back to that lower number, that's where I feel comfortable. And out of nowhere, so remember I told you the potassium has a lot to do with your thyroid function, which has a lot to do with your metabolism. Also, calcium shell will inhibit you from losing body fat. So when we have difficulty losing weight, often I see high calcium. Um, even elevated. So actually my calcium now, and I didn't do my next test, but as of a couple months ago, it was actually still high. 85 is still high when the optimal is 42, but I'm on the higher end of the range, right? I'm not like in a calcium shell anymore. So therefore my metabolism is going to work better because that calcium is more able to make those cells permeable. Even though I'm not seeing the evidence on my potassium here yet, I know my potassium, I'm taking in a lot more potassium on purpose. And I get on the scale, like I don't go on the scale often. It's in the bathroom. I just step on it once in a while and kind of see where I'm at. And I got on about 6 weeks ago and I'm like, that's weird. I was like 2 pounds less than my low. And I wasn't like dieting or anything. Truth be told, I have a really clean diet. I do really don't have a problem with like ice cream and cupcakes and all that. And it's not, if I wanted it, I eat it, but it's just not something I have a very nutrient dense diet. I eat a lot of food. I eat a lot of protein. Um, so I do have a clean diet, but I wasn't like counting calories. I wasn't counting macros. I wasn't like, oh, I wasn't not eating carbs. I eat a lot more carbs, people, now than I did 3 years ago. I mean, a lot more. I have potatoes, Japanese yams, coconut water, watermelon, all the things that I stayed away from because I thought it was bad. So I get on the scale, I'm 2 pounds less than my low. And I'm like, that's weird. I haven't seen that number since like literally probably in my 20s, maybe 30s. And I didn't think anything of it. Then like a week later, I got on the scale again and I was like another 2 pounds down. And I'm like, this is crazy. I know So this is the trick. This is the thing. It took 3 years for that to happen. I wasn't, to be very honest, I wasn't trying for that to happen. But truth be told, I'm actually, a short person. I'm 5'2". I have a smaller frame, and I probably was carrying a little bit too much body fat, and in the form of maybe a couple pounds. Not that it was a big deal. I'm still healthy. I'm still in a body fat healthy range, but my body is metabolizing better. So again, this is a journey. This took 3 years. Now, I'm not saying that you have to wait for symptom relief or for weight loss or to feel better within the first couple months of a protocol, but I'm going in the right direction. I still have work to do. I can tell you that you can see my nickel is way down. Remember that nickel was way up. My strontium that was taking up parking spaces in my bones, which would make them brittle and osteoporosis, is way down. But the one thing that I've struggled with is mercury. Every test, I'm pushing out more mercury, and then I'm actually able to see those toxic elements block your absorption of other nutritional minerals. So that's why when you're taking something, it doesn't mean you're absorbing it. We need to know the full picture. What toxic elements are you holding on to? I had my silver fillings removed incorrectly, not by a biological correct dentist, like 16 years ago. And that was the beginning of my mercury storm. Okay. So I think you should get mercury fillings removed because it's a constant exposure to mercury, but you have to go to a biological correct dentist. And unfortunately, I unleashed a bunch of mercury in my body. And I also was a big fish eater. I love sushi, tuna. I have stopped that because the one thing that you have to realize is that when you have a toxicity, like a high level of mold, for example, or aluminum in your body, you can't continue to do the same. I can't continue to put aluminum deodorant on, cook my food on aluminum foil, and think my aluminum's going to go down. You have to reduce exposure. So I stopped eating sushi. And if I do eat sushi, which is, I don't even know last time I had it, I'll have like I won't have tuna because tuna is very high in mercury. So I've been conscious to remove the exposure, but I still have a lot of mercury interfering with my iron absorption, my selenium, my zinc, and my sulfur. This is a problem because these minerals are crucial in functions of your body. And what does mercury do? Over time, you can have, you know, we have high levels of mercury we see in dementia patients. We have memory loss. We have neurological issues, shaking, like tremors could be a side effect. It's a real big problem. So I am diligent about my binder. We'll get into zeolite another day. It's my favorite binder. Not any zeolite. You have to get Vicon zeolite. That's the only one that's the best, not liquid zeolites. So that binds to my toxic elements and pulls them out of my body. But I am going to be, and I'll be sharing this. I was listening to a webinar with the gentleman that wrote a book, Detoxination. And it's a specific protocol using infrared sauna and high niacin, vitamin B3. And you take it and it helps with the detoxification process. You need to have the right ingredient. You need the binder on board. You need certain nutrients on board. And guys, don't just go do a detoxification program. Like what I see, a lot of people say, oh, I'm doing a cleanse. Oh, I'm doing this 5-day detox. Here's the problem. If you signed up for the Army or the Marines or something, and like they gave you a uniform and a gun and they sent you to a war zone, how do you think that's going to go if you didn't go through boot camp? If you don't go through training and you don't get your body ready, you throw yourself into a detox program, it's not going to be good. It's going to cause a storm in your body where you're going to have a lot of toxins floating around and causing a lot of bad negative side effects. So how do you go into a detox? We support the body with what it needs. We give it the right nutritional elements. We make sure it's strong. The body naturally will detox. Then when it's stronger, you can do things like sauna or, these types of programs like detoxination. So more to come because Mercury is my biggest goal. So I hope that wasn't too boring. I know I love talking about this stuff. The goal was to give you a taste of my journey. I'm not perfect. I don't do perfect protocols all the time. So don't think that it's hard to do what I do. I help my clients to make this a lifestyle. I want you to have your cake and eat it too, or have your wine and eat it too. I teach you how to do that. So you can start if you're listening to this or somebody shares it with you. You can reach out to me for a free consult and we can talk about what you're going through and maybe some symptoms you're experiencing that you would like to correct. And we'll talk about if it's a good fit for you. I'm here to help. Truly, that is my mission and my desire. I want to help you. I want you to help your family. I want you to share it with your friends. I want that ripple effect, right? So I hope you have a great day and I hope to see you soon. Sign up for my Wellness Wednesdays in my bio. The link is below so that you can get in on free coaching, free information, and bring your questions to the table. I hope you have a great day.